The Fox and the Grapes, and Aesop Fables Practical Insights for Business Owners and Sales Executives. Aesop's Fables are 2,500-year-old case studies on human behavior, making them one of the best free leadership tools available. The smartest leaders don't just read them, they apply their lessons before history repeats itself. Aesop's Fables, The Fox and the Grapes, are timeless because they condense complex human behaviors into simple, memorable stories. For business owners and leaders, these fables offer powerful lessons in strategy, decision-making, and emotional intelligence. Here's why they matter. A fox one day spied a beautiful bunch of ripe grapes hanging from a vine trained along the branches of a tree. The grapes seemed ready to burst with juice, and the fox's mouth watered as he gazed longingly at them. The bunch hung from a high branch, and the fox had to jump for it. The first time he jumped, he missed it by a long way, so he walked off a short distance and took a running leap at it, only to fall short once more. Again and again he tried, but in vain. Now he sat down and looked at the grapes in disgust. "What a fool I am," he said. "Here I am wearing myself out to get a bunch of sour grapes that are not worth gaping for." And off he walked very, very scornfully. There are many who pretend to despise and belittle that which is beyond their reach.
Practical insights for business owners and sales executives. Persistence is key, but know when to pivot. Lesson: the Fox's repeated failures highlight the importance of persistence, but at the same time, it shows that sometimes it's essential to evaluate the situation and change your approach when it's not working. Sales application. In sales, it's common to encounter rejection or failure. The key is persistence. Continue following up, adjusting your pitch, and adapting to your customers' needs. However, if the opportunity isn't a good fit or is unattainable, don't waste resources chasing something that might not work. Know when to pivot and focus on more attainable or profitable prospects. Yahoo was once the king of the internet, dominating as a search engine and the portal for news, emails, and other online services. It was the first major platform where people spent time online, and it had immense traffic. However, Yahoo failed to innovate and pivot quickly when the internet began to evolve. Yahoo's mistakes. Yahoo had opportunities to buy Google in its early days for a relatively small price, around $1 billion, but they declined. They also continued to rely on their portal model, offering news, finance, and other services without putting enough focus on search. They failed to adapt to the growing trend of digital advertising driven by search, which Google capitalized on.
Manage expectations and avoid justifying failure. Lesson: the fox rationalizes his failure by claiming the grapes were sour, even though he never truly tasted them. This shows how people often justify their inability to achieve something by belittling its value. Sales application. In sales, it's easy to justify a lost deal by telling yourself that the customer wasn't serious or the product wasn't right for them. However, this kind of thinking can lead to complacency. Instead, treat each rejection as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself why the deal didn't close, and look for ways to improve your approach. Rationalizing failure as not worth it can lead to missed growth opportunities. Case example: BlackBerry's decline versus Apple's success. In the early 2000s, BlackBerry was a dominant player in the smartphone market, known for its secure email service and the iconic physical keyboard. BlackBerry was widely used by business professionals. However, they failed to see the shift in consumer demands and the evolution of mobile technology. When Apple introduced the iPhone in 2007, it redefined the smartphone market with its touch screen, apps, and multimedia capabilities. Stubbornness versus adaptation. Kodak's failure to pivot. Fable parallel. The fox kept jumping the same way instead of finding a ladder. What happened? Kodak invented the digital camera in 1975, but ignored it to protect its film business. Executives dismissed digital as inferior and stuck to film, even as competitors, like Canon and Sony, embrace the tech. Result: Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012, while the digital camera market soared. Lesson: Kodak kept jumping for the same grapes, film profits, instead of climbing a new ladder digital. Don't let ego get in the way of progress. Lesson: the fox's pride leads him to walk away with scornful attitude, rather than acknowledging that he didn't succeed. His ego prevents him from assessing the situation clearly and improving his approach. Sales application. Ego can play a big role in sales. Whether it's the inability to accept feedback, the fear of rejection, or an unwillingness to ask for help, pride can hinder progress. Successful salespeople know how to set aside their ego and stay open to learning and improving. Being humble enough to admit where you went wrong or where you need help can lead to greater success in the long term. Case example, Elon Musk's early struggles with Tesla. Context. In the early days of Tesla, Elon Musk faced significant skepticism from the automotive and venture capital industries. Many investors and critics dismissed the idea of a successful electric car company, and Musk himself faced countless rejections. Despite the doubts, Musk remained open to feedback and was persistent, even when many doubted Tesla's chances of success. However, one key decision he made was embracing help from others and listening to advice, such as from investors, engineers, and other experts, instead of letting his ego get in the way. Why it fits. Early Tesla was a high-risk, high-reward company that required a founder willing to listen and learn from failure. Musk's ability to set aside ego allowed him to continually learn from setbacks, adjust the product, and bring Tesla to its current dominant position in electric vehicles. In sales, letting ego take over can cause missed opportunities, poor self-reflection, and resistance to necessary changes. Musk's ability to accept the help and advice of others is a great example of the importance of humility in business growth and success. Bonus. Positive example. Avoiding the trap. Apple's pivot to services. Fable parallel. Instead of giving up, Apple found a new way to reach the grapes. What happened? When iPhone sales slowed in the late 2010s, Apple didn't dismiss the market. It adapted. It aggressively expanded into services, Apple Music, iCloud, TV Plus. Now a $85 billion per year business. Lesson. Apple didn't call smartphones sour. It found new revenue streams. Bonus insight. The fable warns against cognitive dissonance, a psychological trap where people downplay what they can't have. In business, this manifests as blaming the market. Our product was too good for them, instead of improving.
Thank you for watching. If you found value in our insights, please help us amplify them. Like, subscribe, and share to ensure these deconstructions of overlooked wisdom reach all who can benefit.